Okay, we're here. Just my camera a little bit. Good. Ooh, live. Happy Thursday morning. And somehow I've spilled something all over the place already. I don't even know what. This morning was going really just fine until like 5 to 10, and then I'm like, oh my god, this, and this, and this, and this, and but we're here. We're here. Everything's working, and everything's fine. I think. I hope you have your coffee or tea or anything, and just ready to start the day on a good creative note. Um, as my title of this stream says, I'm going to work on a little bit of hand lettering on this guy. And then we can switch over to a screen capture on my computer and do a little old school illustration show and tell. So a little bit of both worlds today. And that's where we are. I've already started laying in just kind of like my measurement lines of so I know how tall, and so my text will be relatively even, and a center line for wherever I'm going to have on each section the mid point of the text to be. So a little bit of that pre-work out of the way because that's not very exciting to watch, but yes, and I'm using a pastel pencil to do this on top of an area that I gessoed. And the advantage to using a pastel pencil over a regular pencil, number two, any lead pencils, is that um, it's very easy to wipe away, especially on on an acrylic base, because you can just get a little damp cloth and it wipes right off. So you don't have to worry about lines being stuck on there. I did overshoot a little bit. I think I was getting a little ahead of myself, and some of it got on just the watercolor paper. But even that wipes away pretty well. It's kind of just very dusty, chalky stuff. So that's the advantage to using that. Oh, but yeah, this is where we are today, and it is beautiful outside. It is 70-ish degrees. Not even yet. I don't even think we've gotten that warm yet. And so what is that? Like 21 degrees Celsius ish. I really bad at knowing those. What do you call it? How to translate one to the other. But yeah, that's about where we are. Nice cool day, sun shining. Although I'm warm in my studio because I just run hot in general. Hmm. Good morning, Mary Beth. Good to see you here. Another sunny day that we have to, do some creative stuff and just relax a bit if we can. Yes, and coffee. I have my cup of coffee and my a little bit of a backup refill here as I need it, and water because being hydrated is good. So, hey, yep, there we go. A little bit of both. So, I do want to. I forgot last time to put the whiskers on my little cat here. So I'm going to use one of these really fine tipped paint markers and just give it a little quick swipe for a few whiskers coming out of him. This is the sort of detail work that kind of like gives you that heart attack to, yeah, backup copy is always planning ahead. Because this isn't watercolor, this is acrylic pen, and being able to, if you don't like what you put down, it's there. So more permanent marker thing going on. All right, I'm gonna check my reference photo real quick. So I'm putting them in about the right place. And I just want to have like where the sun or light or whatever is catching them to be the white. Otherwise, they're not necessarily that bright. And my poor cat went in for a dental cleaning, and he has apparently gotten the short stick on teeth with genetics, which is not terribly uncommon for his breed. He has very, very bad periodontal disease. He had 7 teeth pulled. He's only 2 years old. And they think that he will probably not have any teeth likely by the time he's like 5 or 6 years old. So every year we'll probably have to do this cleaning and extractions as needed. And yeah, unfortunately, but I don't know, when you watch a cat eat their food, even if you give them the dry food, they just sort of, at least mine does, vacuums it without chewing. So say it doesn't really affect his ability to eat. And he's an indoor cat. So it should not affect his ability to survive as long as he remains an indoor cat without having to, get into fights um, or catch his own prey. He can continue to try to hunt little bugs and things in here as he sees them. I don't think not having the teeth will hurt him too badly on that one. Yeah, but my poor guy, he was pretty drugged up after he came home from that procedure, and like they were like, oh, his eyes will be dilated afterwards by quite a bit, and they were. He was just, and he couldn't. I thought he'd come home from that after being at the vet all day and being like, knocked out for this procedure that went on. Like I thought he'd come home and sleep. Like he could not settle down at all. He was just moving for like hours. He'd wander and check things out over and over again, sit for a second, but then he's up again and just couldn't settle down. I was really surprised by that. Okay, okay, okay. Let's see here. I might have gotten a little carried away with spacing my text in the corner here. I have it going right to the corner by my measurements. I might pull that back a little bit. All right. So one of the things I've done for my top line of text that's going to say, I'm here to scratch out hate. And it's going to, I measured out because I'm going to do like caps on the top line. So I've given like, this is how many spaces I need here. So hopefully that will help me keep it from being like, these letters are really wide and then I run out of space at the end. So they start getting really narrow, which is definitely something that can happen. So, okay. Yeah, start marking these guys in here. Have you given yourself pruning gaps? Yeah, I'm kind of going to build that into my measurement spots. I am not great at hand lettering. It's not definitely not like my forte. I'm not a great it's not something that I'm really wonderful at. But I can give it a go here and see how it looks. Because worst case scenario, if I draw it all in here and it's terrible, I can wipe all this pencil off, do it on the computer. Arisa, good morning, good afternoon to you, I guess. Yes. Yeah, I didn't take the dedicated typography test in when I was class when I was in college, which I kind of looking back wish I had done and could do more of that. Like I could go now and work on doing that sort of thing. But I mean, I love typography. I love fonts and playing around with matching fonts and getting the look you want with you know all that stuff. I enjoy fonts a lot. It's kind of a nerdy thing that I'm willing to spend a decent amount of time on. But yeah, it's still limited in terms of my own abilities with it. We'll see. And try to keep like try to keep straight where I am. One time I did a hand lettering project, and I was so into like the details and paying attention to what I was doing that I completely missed that I had the worst typo. Like the first letter was wrong in the first word. So yeah, and I try to, I'm not a stickler for perfectionism either. It's okay to have that hand done look. Oh, you did. Oh, you did hand drawn typography for a few years. Nice. May sound like a question, but how much do you read in general? Are you a reader? There have been times in my life where I've been a very avid reader. I currently kind of struggle with reading. I have a lot of books right now that I keep starting books and not like getting so far in them, and then I forget they exist, and I'll start another book, and then and also it has to be this right state of mind. It must be like the ADHD in me where I get a few pages in, and then there's that point where your eyes are moving over the text, but you're not absorbing anything. And I go back and again and again and again, and at some point I just have to stop. And yeah, I have so many books that are started, um, and I would like to get finished. I've finished, and I keep buying more books too. Do all the time typos. I'm a terrible speller. Like, terrible. Just the worst. It's embarrassing. Once you see typography, you can't unsee it. Yeah. Everything you pick up, text will no longer ever just be text. Yeah. It's like yeah, the some of the early stages of learning stuff about typography, suddenly every time you see something like Papyrus or Comic Sans, it just like makes you. And the fact that Papyrus is still constantly used in like professional settings and logos and things like that just blows my mind. Like, I love the old stuff. The typography they got on these little old crayons or oil pastels, whatever you want to call them. I love the typography and the design on these. So, uh, like Futura is one of my go-to. I love the font Futura. So yeah, these are from the '60s. Let me zoom. Let me zoom in a little bit on what we're doing here. I think that looks pretty sharp, so we can actually see what I'm talking about. Yeah. So yeah, just the feel of that. Like it's so particular to this time and type of design. The way that the lettering is and the way it's spaced. It just makes me happy. Discord designed their own font face. It's still not turned right and drives me mental. Oh no. Yeah, those sort of things will definitely uh, bug you for sure. Future is absolutely classic. And yes, show typography. I love those. Those are some examples I always go back to because random stuff I have of my dad's from the '60s, and I have this. It looks like a board game box, but it's actually a screen printing set that he had, also from the 60s, and it's got that same kind of font and lettering on it. Garden is loving the break of heat. Freshen the water for the birds. We'll finish planting the tomato. Ooh, tomatoes. It's been very dry around here. We need some rain. Definitely need some rain. Hopefully, hopefully soon we'll actually get some. I think maybe this weekend, maybe Saturday, more likely Sunday. We're gonna have that uh, fun time where the weather goes from being like going up to get really hot, and then the next day will be like 30 degrees colder, and that's just the worst. Okay, trying to think if I have anything else immediately around me that I really love the typography on. I really enjoy the old magazines and the ads because the ads are all like hand done. I have these posters in my kitchen. They are they're old. They're from a meat market. The date on them is 1920 something, and it's like the poster that would have been up on the wall with like all the different cuts of one's beef, one's pork. I'm not even a huge meat eater, but they're a Chicago um, butcher shop, and I love everything's hand painted. The lettering, the meat cuts, and the colors, the pinks of it, and then the gray blues. They're just gorgeous, and I love these prints. Um, Found them on eBay like 11 years ago or something. So those are really fun. Need to get into the studio later. Your brain is overloaded with ideas, but your body is saying you need to chill. Yeah, I know how you feel there, and the worst is when once you actually sometimes get into the studio, it's like you can't quite grasp the ideas that have been flowing around. Just grab a journal, start working them into a journal, and then it can still be kind of relaxing, but the ideas aren't going to run away. That's I tried to keep an idea journal around. Actually, I probably have a dozen of them in different places where I always forget to go back and look at what I wrote down. Wish I could show you my collection of book design books. I have one entirely dedicated to Mills and Boone old school romance books. Oh my gosh. The type and actual painting on those is epic, yes. Oh, absolutely. And as somebody who's worked in design for years and, a person, I will buy books and other things because of the design on them, because of the cover, judging the book by the cover. Yeah, I do that. Um, Wine bottles. I'm not a big drinker in general. I don't drink much wine for sure, but yeah, I'll buy a wine because it's got a cool label. Give it a try. That gets raised eyebrows from people who actually know what they're doing when it comes to wine, for sure. But it's it's okay. I don't mind being looked at as a little goofy. You get that a lot when you're an artist out in the wild and you just don't care. Going to fetch it now just to doodle. Good idea. Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of days where it's hard to get into the mode. It's like I always want to be creating, but sometimes forcing your brain to get into the mode of actually like putting like dedicating yourself to starting something and getting into it can be very it can be overwhelming. This top part is just very sans serif thin lined. Like the width of my brush will be the width of the lettering. Give me a well-designed book over wine any day. Yes, absolutely. Here for it. Or coffee. And just for kicks and giggles, just for shits and giggles, I'm gonna go opposite on my R, not follow what I've established here. Suggestions for typography. No dedicated details. Get all the words in super light to make sure it fits, please. I can tell you from past airset constantly making that mistake. Yeah, that's why I've kind of measured out some spacing, because I mean, I still do like you start your letters nice and this one width, and then by the time you're running out of space, and they start getting more narrow at the end. Yep, been there, done that. And this is just, as I was saying before, this is a pastel pencil. So it's very easy to just grab a damp cloth and wipe away um, what I don't like from it in the end. Like after all my guidelines and things that are here, even after I paint it, I can just, and the paint's dry, I'll just take again, a damp cloth and just clean up all around it, get it all off of there. I have a couple of mugs that I sell in my shop on my website that I did the hand lettering on. And I don't have any of them here with me. I guess I could throw when we jump over to the computer. I could throw them up on there to see them. I want that end to be a little more narrow. Ooh, going to be very imperfect, all of it. There's some old stuff that I have that I did. I would occasionally attempt to do different designs, posters and things like that. And I tried a couple that were hand lettered, and they were okay at best, but that was a long time ago. Lots changed in that time. Okay, this is going to get much more, this word is going to be much more loose. Let's see. I want to divide this up. 6, 7. Make sure I don't leave out letters or mismeasure anything. I am a terrible speller. Part of it is I know that sorry, yes you did. I rushed back in and have shit memory in my head. I can see it on there. I did it for the first line so far. I haven't done it for the other lines yet. That's what I'm doing right now. Well, I'm counting. Really close to the edge. Okay. I think that'll work. Okay. I want to say I'm super conscious about coming across and pushy and all that. Very talkative. I love watching you work. Oh, thanks. I don't take anything you say as pushy or unhelpful. I mean, that's what we're here for. I love an exchange of ideas. I, we spend so much time working alone in our studios in our little, like, just no one else is here with us. There's no feedback. There's no idea bouncing. And I miss having that. And that's part of why I started doing these streams, is to try to create like a bit of a creative community where just an excuse to, you know, have some social creative time and throw ideas about and suggestions and stuff. I love all of it. So don't worry at all. Okay, let's continue messing things up. So this is going to be very rough font on this word. I do too. I love also love seeing ways that I'm used to. I get stuck in ways sometimes, and it's important to me to keep that ajar sometimes. Yes, yes, you're so right. It's so, again, working, in spaces where it's just us doing our thing becomes so hard to, uh, it becomes so confining sometimes that you have to really make the effort to get out of that space. Orbit Sniper, good morning. Glad to see you here. All right. So go for real, like scratchy, rough font on the word scratch. Please call me Matthew or Matt. Oh, okay. I will try. I will do my best. To remember. Yes. Okay. I know that's the thing with having the handles and such. That's the high school. Yeah, it kind of is. I'll refine the shape a little bit. Like I said, it's sort of like just get it on there for now. Now that I'm drawing this word in there, I think I don't want it to be as regular as I have it, like as straight across. So, okay, let me get my spacing first. Make sure I'm spelling the word right. When I was in grade school, yeah, I got a little tight here at the end. Need to adjust that. When I was in grade school, I had a teacher that was more like encouraging you to just write stories all the time, like just write and don't worry about the spelling, just write, just be writing. And I took that to heart, and I was have always, ever since then, been a very, very, very terrible speller. I've gotten a little better, honestly, thanks to spell check. Believe it or not, that's actually helped me. Um, over the years, because thank goodness for spell check. But yeah, that constant correction on things usually helps. But I know that I'm not good. I know that I make a lot of mistakes. I think that's getting too crowded at the end. It's that A. It's the A. It's the problem A. going a little crazy, but trying to still be readable. Used to be really pedantic about the stuff because I wrote as well. Then I had to get over my ego because it's so inconsequential in the grand scheme. And I have autocorrect. Goodness for autocorrect. Don't trust the spell check. It might give you another word that means something entirely different. That's true. You always have to check the spell check. That is absolutely true. I think we've all had autocorrect mess with us once or twice, right? Yeah, always got to double check it. But yeah, that was the worst thing working in design and being a terrible uh, copy checker. Because not only am I just not a very good speller, I'm also not necessarily very detail oriented. Um, my brain has a tendency to want to rush through the non interesting parts of the process. So I had on more than one occasion when other people aren't doing like a really thorough job of proofing something that you do, the people you do the design for, they proof it, they tell you, oh, good to go, send it to print. They don't catch it. Guess whose fault it is? If it goes to print and it's wrong, it's still my fault. So, more than one occasion that has happened to me. So, yeah, fun times. Fun times. 100% the reason I didn't do editing. Nope, I knew stories from friends who were editors. I lost out on a job once because they were looking for a designer who could also be a copy, um, not writer, but copy like editor. And it came down to me and one other artist or designer. And I was the stronger designer, but not the stronger um, copy checker. So did not get that job. So it goes. That was a long time ago. That was also the job I think I was talking about in the last stream about where I learned in design for a job interview, and that was that job. Or taught myself in design because I knew I needed to do it at a job interview. Yeah, that was that one. Yeah, trying to decide if I want any serifs. Sounds like you dodged a bullet with that one. Oh, I would have been. That would have been a terrible fit for me to have gotten a job where a big part of my job was to make sure that things were spelled right. Because I just skim. Like I have a really hard time not just skimming things. And that's where you miss all the important stuff. Yeah, I don't think I want a serif. Sans serif. We're going. This is just a big mess right now. Not only would you have been feeling in the on the hook for the copy, but the design too. Never ending loop of hell. Yeah, and it wasn't like the most creative design work. It was like laying out magazines that were, you know, if I recall, the one that I was doing the interview on was an article that was about farming equipment, so like agricultural things. I have a question for the mixed media queen. I don't know about queen, but I will try to answer your question. I'll do my best. Tonight I'm working on a digital piece and I'm playing with all the fun brushes. I started to try them out, but it didn't feel like there was any cohesiveness. How do you know, feel what to put where? It tends to be a, like kind of intuitive, but there can be some logic to it also. Like if I what I tend to do like with the pieces that you see me work on here is I have my element that is the watercolor element, the the figurative thing, which is usually like much softer and more highly rendered, and then I balance everything else around it um, as less refined, rougher, sharper edges, harder colors. Um, so it's like create knowing where you want the balance to be. If there's a deliberate like meaning to why you would choose like a very soft brush versus a very textured brush. Um, I think it helps to like working digitally. I usually would work with the stuff that I did before with only maybe a couple different brushes for the whole piece, just to depending on if it was going to be a very uh, graphically colored thing or a very rendered thing. Um, I think keeping your choices down to a few things that kind of like with typography, right? When you choose maybe a serif font to complement a sans serif, um, and then maybe something else for your header. It's that same concept. Hi, Jim. Thanks for joining us. I have a line drawing of a woman on there as a basis. Um, I think that the why of it can be very helpful. Yeah, it has charcoal and pencil and brushes and paint and all different and some stamps, etc. Your stuff made me think to try them. Great advice, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. It is very much for me about yeah, finding the things that complement each other but keep it a little bit edited down. Not that you would look at a lot of my work and say that that's edited, but some there is some element of deliberateness in the choices that I'm making. Did not like that. Okay, we're going to go smaller with that. Maybe, maybe. Let's see. I'm just over here making a mess today. Uh, that's all. No, no, that's not it. I am, like I said, this is not my strength. We will see how it goes. Nope. ah, okay. I'm starting to work this area a little hard. What about putting the out semi behind the scratch to make it look like you're actually trying to scratch it out? Yeah, I was actually going to do that with the word hate and have like actual like scratch marks kind of maybe behind it. That was, hmm. But yeah, I think mostly it's the tea that's really getting me. Maybe make it a nice thicker, thicker word. Kind of becomes like a little shape. And I don't want the tea to. All right, let me think here. Hurt myself thinking too much this morning. All right, I was trying to do a lowercase thing here, but I don't think that's. I think maybe not. So, what I am doing here is hardly something that anybody should take as how to do hand lettering. This is just my goodness, messy messness. All right. Something kind of like that. Also, seeing that, looking at it from like this would probably work better if I were looking at it directly above or like had it in front of me, standing up directly in front of me. Because I just noticed that some things are getting a little crooked. But whatever it is, I need to probably stop working this area. I'm getting the paper too abused for the moment. I'll give it a second to regroup, let it gather its thoughts, see if it'll behave. I lost a little bit of my guideline. No, don't move that. Best laid plans. Oh my goodness. Oh, well, thank you. You're very kind. It's definitely feeling like a mess, but hopefully it'll pull together here. So I am going to throw the word. So it's going to be behind, coming up behind out. That is the plan, anyway. I think I'm going to go back to kind of writing it the way that I did at the top. The higher center line will be a little bit thicker. It's all highly imprecise and a mess. Oh well, okay. And let's see. Trying to use the brain a little bit. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I've never been terribly good at precise things, such as straight lines. You know what? You know what I'm going to do? Because using my brain for a second, I want to switch to another color so that I can see what I'm doing over all of my other messiness. So sharpen this real quick. Okay. Okay. Let's try this again. Trying to pay attention to where the actual speech bubble is on here. So I'm not running off the end of it. Watch me try to do a perpendicular line. Good enough. Good enough. I think I once did some online class on hand lettering quite a while back. I think it was like I had a free intro period with Skillshare, and I did somebody's hand lettering course, and it was fun, but it didn't like stick, and it was very like loose. Like she didn't. It was much more about feel and stuff like that than it was about any kind of rules about it. If I'm remembering right, it's been a long time that I did that. Like I'm guessing 8 or 9 years ago. In which case, I'm amazed I remember it at all. Okay, so this word is actually going to fall behind the word out. Nope, let's do a center point. As long as we're being, as long as we're measuring, give myself a center point. Oh, another one. Sometimes I worry the closer to exact I try to get, the more my imperfections stand out. This is all pretty much why I usually do this part of things on the computer in Illustrator. There was a girl that I worked with at my last job who also did some certain design work. Like I did most of the print stuff, and she did a lot of the stuff for the digital space, and she took care of the website. And uh, I remember that she would do a lot of her text layout in Photoshop, and I always thought that was nuts. That always felt so cumbersome to me anytime I do text. And I do sometimes, like for thumbnails on YouTube, for example. It just isn't worth the extra effort to like do the image in Photoshop and get that all set up and then export it to Illustrator and then back, that sort of thing. I tend to just do it there because it's usually just a couple of words, but oh lordy, I don't care for it. Okay, found that coffee. Let's go figure out how thick I want this guy to be. Yeah, I know. I think that once I put paint to it regarding text in Photoshop, yeah, InDesign preferred. I do also like am okay with working on in Illustrator with text to on smaller things. Um, but yeah, for anything that has any significant amount of text, for sure, InDesign is better. Yeah, I never understood that. How cumbersome to do text layout with lots of different. Oh, anyway, anyway, can't imagine it. But I guess you kind of just do what you know, what you're familiar with, maybe. And I guess, I don't know, maybe because of the color space, but you can adjust your color space no matter where you are in those programs. And once I do this, once I add brush work to, like actual brush work to this with paint, then any precision is just, very much out the window. And I hate the way that I need to adjust the kerning. This is, yeah, my space. Okay. Might actually get to putting down some paint at some point today. Maybe. All right. Let's just. think the tea is not going to be so wide, not as regular. A little overlappy with the A would be better. Maybe. Okay, and I'm probably thinking, oh, it's raining there. Oh, that's nice. We need rain so bad. It's been like crazy dry here. I think maybe this weekend, maybe. And it's also supposed to get hot again, like on Saturday, like really hot. Grossest. And yeah, we've been in drought for a little while now, actually, haven't we? Like the entire month of May was quite dry, and I think even April was under average according to the weather on TV. I don't have a garden of any sort. Every now and again, I put out plants outside, but lately I'm struggling to keep my indoor plants alive, so I decided to, you know, not kill anything extra this year. um, see, I'm gonna really try to do right by the plants I still have here, and then maybe again. But I used to grow a lot of hot peppers on the patio here, and then make hot sauce at the end of the year, some fermented hot sauce, which was always awesome. And I did try to rent a garden plot around here once. You have El Nino headed your way. Oh, so I sympathize with you on the dry. Bushfires here are always terrifying, and droughts mean water restrictions. Well, nice to help the plants. Yeah. There's wildfires up in Canada that are really bad and affecting air quality. Not quite as bad in the Midwest as on the East Coast right now, which has been quite bad the last few days. That doesn't help either. But yeah, wildfires. I know Australia's been bad for them, and the western part of the United States and up in Canada has been bad also for wildfires. Crazy times. Okay. Eh. That's what I'm gonna say about this. Eh. I'll grab yet a different color and well, I think that red will look too close to the brown. Maybe a blue. And maybe I'll sharpen this real quick, really quick. Enough. And I'm gonna put some scratch marks across the word here. Roman first. Like, hey, my cat was here. One of the worst things is like having to trim your cat's claws. Uh, some cats are very cool about that. Watson is not a fan. So it's always trying to hit him at that perfect point of being kind of like sleepy and out of it. Get it done without him like before I can even get one nail clipped, he's like out of there. When he was in the vet to have the teeth taken care of, they did actually clip his nails for me, which was wonderful. I've been working at them. I usually can get a few done a day, but yeah. One plant you have. Oh, it was bad from. All right, I gotta catch up. I think all our firefighter dudes help each other with this season now because it's just getting so bad. Oh my goodness, yeah. It was bad from Woodstock to Lake Geneva, yellow-brown sky, heavy air. Today it appears clear. Yeah, today is better. I think Tuesday morning was particularly bad too. There were some air quality warnings. Um, Mary will be happy to know I have one plant and it's actually not just alive but growing. First time ever. I'm so protective of it now. That's wonderful. See the change on the train from Chicago Monday. Yeah, it's further, it's pretty north of us. And a lot of it's blowing to the east at the moment. Have seeds to plant. 2 packages of Made in the Shade mix. There you go. That's what I need. We get very little direct sun here. Plan is to reduce the parkway grass and grow more native plants. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. Great idea. One year, some time ago, quite a few years ago, you could rent through our park district a garden plot on the park district land. I'm like, I want to try to grow things. So I rented it. It was not very expensive. I don't remember exactly. But I was in so far over my head for somebody who's never had a garden before. It was like 20 foot by 20 foot. Um, and I attempted to start little seedlings indoors with little grow lights, and they were all like crazy leggy. And I planted them all out there, and I would try to go almost every day to water, but like I was working full time, and it was just too big of a plot, and the weeds got way out of hand and out of control for me, and somebody stole my hose. It was just such a disaster, but I did get some wonderful tomatoes out of it. That was like the one thing. I planted like a ridiculous amount of tomato plants. I didn't know what I was doing, and there were so many tomatoes. Okay. My goodness. Planted a flowering lawn this year. Oh, I love that. Waiting to see. Hard to tell. Not a good lawn keeper. I'm proud of my native weeds. Yes, I hear you. I mean, who wants to mow a lawn? It's a lot of the reason that I live in a condo. Well, many reasons. Affordability and upkeep, exterior upkeep, all those things. All right, before I dig into some paint, I'm thinking maybe switching over to the computer. And since we were talking about digital art, I could show you guys some of my older stuff, older illustrations. And I have a few where I have the Photoshop file that I can kind of pull back a little bit and show some of the layers. A weed is just a plant you don't want. Yeah, that's so true. I'm so glad I don't have to deal with any of that. That one year with that garden plot was such an eye opener for me. Okay. Hold with me here. I'm gonna switch the screen up. Let me open my Photoshop. And these guys. All right. Here we go. Fingers crossed. Can you hear me now? Oh my goodness. Sorry, guys. Didn't think about that little detail. Okay. This piece is something I was saying. It's an album cover for a Chicagoland band that um, called the Stray Toasters, and the area that's it is like a in the front with nothing there, a little photo. That's where the title went. This has got to be like 2014, I think 2015, 2014. It was pretty old. Okay. Yeah, sorry. uh I spent a bunch of time setting this up so it would work yesterday, and lo and behold, little details. But yeah, okay, so that's an old one. CD cover. Does anybody still do CD covers? All right. Let's see. Here's here's something else that I did for that same band, and this was actually all vector that I did in Illustrator. Stray Toasters poster. I kind of still like that one. It sort of reminds me of, well, there was that movie and maybe comment like the Brave Little Toaster or something like that. And after I did this, it was sort of reminded me of that after the fact. But he's fighting the toast and saving the damsel in distress of the blender. Okay, let me find one here that I have. This is another, I think, 2017-ish, 2016. It's not very good. Um, and this was actually for a card. Oh, I love that, Mary Beth. That's amazing. I would probably do the same thing, like yelling at the TV screen when somebody's doing something silly. So this was actually, it's not great, but it would have been very small in print. It was like a picture like this. This was for a card game, um, Dominion. And this was an illustration I did for them a long time ago. And I have this I do have, I think, the Photoshop document here with all of my layers. And there's a lot of layers. And I always try to be good about labeling them all. And it makes it easy if I have every element in a separate layer to okay, come on, brain. To go back and make edits to one particular area. Do you play Dominion? I've probably done like 8 or 9 cards for them. Some of them are really bad. Maybe more than that over the years. 12 or 13, possibly. I've done quite a few. And even last year I did a couple. Um, and I didn't want to show any of the most recent ones because I don't know if they've been published yet. I don't know. I know so little about it. So yeah, some of my Dominion cards from way back are not very good. But there's a few as time went on. I think they got better. But here, I can show you a little bit. If I just go down the line. Oh, some minor correction. We'll just go all the way down, all the parts, and kind of see. This was the background layer. I started with an drawing, like an ink drawing, and scanned that in. And then added, like I put a multiply on the layer so that the white of the page becomes transparent, and then I use that as my guide to color. So background, started building in textures, color things, and oh, it's just not very good, but I think it works better as a very small little illustration. So all the different leading up to things, another adjustment of light and skin tones, hair, clothing, and the glass piece. And then the last thing was adding the smoke. So yeah, boy, what year did I do this? I'm saying 2014, it might be older, I don't know. It's a long time ago. Oh gosh, it might be more like I think I started doing work for Dominion back in maybe 2011, and they would often have me do anywhere from 2 to 4 cards almost every year because of expansion packs and whatever. Some of them are so bad. You like to keep the art line black. Still finding my own taste for that. I mostly did, and then I got to the point where I wasn't using as many lines. There's another old one. Another one. This was just one I did for myself. I'd sell like prints. I used to do the comic book conventions in the artist alley, so I would have some stuff that I would have for prints there. So this was one. I still kind of like it. I mean, there's definitely problems, a lot of problems, but I kind of like it. uh, this is another one from about that era. This small guy. This was one I did without outlines, and then I rendered things more. Like in a lot of my older illustration work was pretty flat in terms of coloring and any detail, but then I started trying to adding like more rendering. And yeah, no, it's again another one where it's like there's things I like about it, and some things where it's like, nah, that could have been a lot better. But yeah, it was fun. It was cute, just random. And then for some more semi-recent, oh wait, here's another one from around there. This was another one where I was starting to play with edit, like having some smooth um, color transitions, black outline on this one, except for in the background. Like I have a black, to answer, here's a demonstration of changing the line color. The figure, face is so wrong. The figure is outlined in black, and then the background is in brown tones, outlines. So yeah, this is maybe 2016-ish. So a few that are a little bit more recent. This one was a little bit more recent. And just the title of it was "You Have Been Weighed." Um, and still looking at something like this, I still see things that are kind of problematic for me. I think this one might have been like 2017 or 18. And then this one, more graphic. Everything's like all the highlights and shadows are done with a harder line. And it was inked, and then the background, the circle of the bird, the fox, are outlined in black, and then the background elements, the girl, and the greenery foliage is outlined with colors. Oh, thank you. This is one where there's things I like and a few things I would change, primarily with I think the background, that like foliage shape is maybe too strong. I don't know, but whatever. Like I said, oh, I have a date on that one. How about this? 2016 on that one. How about that? Okay, now a couple that I did in 2018. Here's one I have the Photoshop file for. This is another one where I no outlines. Oh, oh, seeing it now. Oh no, yeah, no, it's not very good. Yikes. Um, Plenty of problems, but kind of fun. But yeah, I think my original pull up elements, and this stuff would take me forever to do. It's ridiculous. So there's a very light, my original pencil drawing that I sketched in to work off of, and then I just pulled back the opacity way down and had it on top of everything so I could toggle it on and off. That was the background pencil drawing. Then, oh, come back here. Then different layers of things in the background. That was all out the window right there, I guess. And the background behind the characters. Well, I'm glad it inspires you. I mean, I have a lot of mixed feelings about pulling this stuff up now. But I think it's just the same with any of your old work. You're going to look at something even just a year or two ago. You're probably going to see things that you did and have like little moments of cringe, and it's going to be harder for us than other people aren't going to be as critical probably as we are. But yeah, I don't know. That was a layer with some countertop stuff on it and floor texture. It's a very dirty floor. A grandma layer in the background. Oh, I had a separate layer for my signature. I'm notoriously bad at forgetting to sign things that I do. And there's it in the high chair. Little dog. And those are all the layers. When I would color an element, I usually would like fill it in all with one color to start, one solid color with a hard edge brush. And then I could lock the transparency on that layer. So, like the dog, for example, the solid shape of him, I could then go back in with the transparency locked and just like brush on him the highlights and shadows and whatever other colors. Anyway, okay. I think I just have one or two left. This one's kind of fun. I still kind of like this one. It's my birthday. I actually created in Illustrator a repeatable pattern for it even. I even did that part, so that was kind of a fun thing to do. Yeah, silly. Took me forever to do all the little suction cups on the octopus and all the textures on the cake and stuff, but I was pretty happy with that one for the most part. Cringe moments only due to being too self-critical, yeah. We as the artists see that. People seeing it for the first time love it. Yeah, there's always like we're always learning and growing, hopefully, so we're always gonna see things that we might change a little bit. And I have one little thing that I did just about 2 years ago here, because I did a little test where I did this character as a watercolor, like a small watercolor illustration, and then I also did them digitally because I was at that time just like kind of trying to work out my transition from working digitally to working more tactilely again. So this was an inner demon, and I think I put it on a shirt that said "I love my inner demons." For a while, I had that in my shop. Yeah, I don't mind too much. It's silly. But yeah, that's my show and tell without getting too crazy embarrassing. I mean, there's stuff I have here that dates back to like 2007. Most of it I don't even have on my computer hard drive anymore. I like stash it away and archive. So I had to like go and find some of these. Um, this one's kind of fun. This one's like 2008. So it's really low res. This is a very, very low res version of it. But I really always liked that character of the little guy in the little zip up costume. Still waiting for space. Yeah. Undersea helmet. I need to bring that in here. It's in the living room, like up high on a top shelf, display shelf, and so it just becomes background, and I forget about it. Oh, on VHS tape. Oh my. Yeah, it's storing the stuff. I mean, I guess that's the advantage to working digitally is it doesn't take up physical space like canvases. But because that storing that stuff is a whole other thing. All right, I'm going to switch back to the other cam here. Okay, that worked. I think so. Okay, there we are. And there we go. Do you know what I had to do yesterday? I had to try to find a thumb drive to put something on because we have a treadmill. Hasn't been used for a long time, but we have a treadmill, and it needed a safety update to it. So I finally got around to getting that done. And you needed a thumb drive, and I can't remember the last time that um, I had a thumb drive anywhere. But luckily, my partner had a couple old ones, so I had to try to figure out if any of them still worked, and then anything that was on it, back it up while I took it off, did the thing. Funny. Which is really funny about that. When I was in college, my parents gave me a thumb drive. I think it was like 128 megabytes or something like that, like one of the early ones. And I took it to school because sometimes you work on files at school and home, and this was back in 20 years ago. And nobody else had seen a thumb drive before, and it was like, oh, that's so cool. And then they were everywhere, and now they are nowhere. Kind of funny. Yeah, and the advantage to vector, yeah. I've done not a ton of vector illustration personally. I did quite a bit for my last job. Having to do things that for sure needed to be able to be sized and be very clearly read. I worked for a park district that had different like parks, a water park, a young children's theme park, and I had to create like little maps that shows the all the little things that are there and where they are. Yeah, 128 megabytes. Okay, you really want to get crazy with this. I had where's the paint? My first computer. I used to build computers back when I was in college. All right, let me grab paint. Hold on. I just grabbed a bunch. I don't know what I got. Yeah, my first computer I built. I didn't have a lot of money, and I ended up really cheap on the hard drive because I couldn't. I think I took a hand-me-down from somebody. My first computer that I built, the hard drive was 512 megabytes. I could install Windows XP, and that was pretty much it. And then when I finally upgraded the hard drive at some point, saved up a little bit of money, I put a 10 gigabyte hard drive in that bad boy. And I thought, there's no way anybody's ever going to need that much space for anything. 10 gigabytes should last me forever. Yeah, so much for that. Oh, well, that's funny. Okay. Back to the matter at hand. Let me think for a second what colors I'm going to use for my words. And what did I randomly grab? Okay. All right. Oh, yeah, that PC. Long gone. I have made the switch to Apple about 12, 13 years ago, and I have not looked back because it's just been nice to not have to deal with all of that. My last computer I built was around 9 years ago. I built one for my partner who wanted to have a computer to work on like music stuff. He's a musician. And it was just like all the almost all the hassle of just getting it to be set up and work right, to work with, to like get windows installed and all this garbage. I'm like, I remember now why I stopped doing this and why I don't ever want to deal with it again. Just, oh, the worst. The worst. Okay, I'm gonna pull my little pellet over here. There we go. Well, I figure out colors, and I think I need to do, I'm gonna do maybe the scratches in the background first. And I sort of love building PCs. I built all of my PCs. My ex taught me, and I never looked back. Yeah, I did for a long time, and I used to build them for other people too. I just reached a point where I'm like, I had to transfer into working. I used to be very anti Mac when I was in college and such, because everything at college was in art school was a Mac. Um, and then once it got to come on, brain, what are we talking about? Oh, the my design job. It was all it was Mac, and because it was the standard for so long that I had to switch my mindset, like switch over to working in Mac. Begrudgingly, I did, and then I kind of never wanted to go back after I got accustomed to it. I bought my first Macintosh computer, something like 14 years ago. And here's the crazy thing, that computer is still up and running. Um, I handed it, I had to upgrade this once since then to the computer I have now because I couldn't do video editing on it as it was getting older. And that computer ended up going to my mom, who was having trouble. So she currently has a 12, 13-year-old Mac. It was an iMac Pro, and it still works, like for what she needs. She does mostly like some word processing. She goes online. Um, so it's lighter stuff, but it works great for her still. So that sort of thing um, is pretty nice. The stuff seems to last a long time, which is, I'm a big fan of that. I don't like to have to spend money if I don't have to. And yes, it is more expensive up front. There's no doubt about that. Like the cost of Macs is sort of irritating, but when it will last me that long, I don't feel too bad about it. Your Beth, mine is also, I might have to update the killer prices to upgrade the Mac. Yeah, I know, and it is, but like if I can have a Mac that'll last me, 10 years, I don't feel too bad about it. That it stings, that investment for sure. I was an Apple fanboy till it broke, and I couldn't afford to fix it. PC delivered the same for much cheaper. Apple has priced me out, unfortunately. Yeah, that's the worst thing about them is the price. That is definitely problematic, no doubt. I think most people who know me know that I am not necessarily cheap. The word thrifty for sure. I like to spend money. I don't have to, not made out of this stuff, right? So yeah, I have found it to be worthwhile. And maybe it is like a little fanboy, but yeah, that is currently my thing. I have not been successfully convinced to change back as of yet. Maybe it'll happen. Maybe it will. I do not know. Yeah, it was the pain of the Windows computers, and I hated what they were doing with Windows. Like uh, my partner's computer that I built for him, he was using much older software for his computer editing because it was what he bought, and he didn't want to have to pay for a new subscription service or whatever for new software when it worked fine. And Microsoft would force the updates that would then make the software not work, and all that kind of stuff was just like, oh God, I don't ever want to have to deal with that. Not again, not anytime soon anyway. Maybe one day I'll change my mind. But here you can hear him swearing about Windows. Oh yeah. I've never used Raspberry Pi. I don't really know much about it. I know that is does that do people like use that with Linux? I don't know. I'm definitely out of the loop when it comes to like what's happening in computer. And Jim, building a PC sounds interesting, but I use Mac OS. Using Windows is still awkward for me. Yeah, like going to a strange town and not knowing where anything is. Yeah, I agree. And I definitely went through that transition when I went into using a Mac computer, and now if I have to get on a PC, I'm confused and lost as well. Yeah, Linux. I've always heard people wax poetic about Linux. I've never used it. I don't know. I'm not sure what if it runs all the same things, if it runs into any software issues, but then would you just maybe have an emulators installed or something? I don't know. This is yeah, I don't know. I had to be ultimately after being at my last job for a long time, the tech department had some turnover, IT department, and they wanted to um, force the marketing department, which I was a part of, to switch over to PCs because they were basically like, if you're going to use Mac, we're not going to support you anymore. So I was my own IT support for quite a while there towards the end, and that's not the worst thing because I am at home too. Like my computer starts doing something goofy, I'm the one that's going to figure out how to fix it, and it's really only when it becomes a hardware issue that I've ever had to take one in. I did once have to take my last computer in to get replaced. Um, Something with the graphics card was biting the dust, so that had to be replaced. And I think it ended up being kind of pricey because it was integrated because it was an iMac, so it was like motherboard slash graphics card replaced. I seem to recall that being, I mean, okay, this was a long time ago, relatively speaking. Like I said, it's a 12-year-old computer, and I think that happened after 6 years, and I think I had to pay about $600 or so to get it fixed at the Apple Store. But that was the only time I've ever had to take something in to get fixed. Raspberry Pi, I think, is a small basic processor that runs on the basic language, which is Linux. I think I've seen Windows on them because I've seen people make monitor mirrors. Cool. I hear cool things, but I'm out of the loop for sure about any of the details. Ever since I stopped living in the PC land, and I do also. I mean, I have an iPhone and an iPad, and it is pretty nice that they all speak to each other in the same ecosystem. Like it's very easy to send files back and forth. I can like it be in Photoshop and select under file to import a photo from my phone. And my phone will pop, the camera will pop up, and I take a picture with my phone, and it automatically goes into Photoshop. And so things like that, which are really nice. Basically, if you want to make your home look sci-fi as fuck, which I definitely do. Smart homes. I have a dumb home. When we first got our cat Watson, um, my partner's brother bought us cameras, like home security type cameras that we could set up so that we could like watch what he's doing when we're out. we both mostly work from home, so we're never out, so we never set them up. And being in a condo where like the heat is a boiler and there's no central air, like having a nest doesn't really make sense. And I don't for the life of me understand why a microwave should have to have Wi-Fi. I just don't understand that. Maybe that's just okay. Those look like scratches, I think. Moving along to some actual words. I still feel weird talking into a remote control, because you can like hit the microphone button to say what you want to come up or whatever. Never forget the juice machine that required Wi-Fi to squeeze the packet into a cup. It's a little silly. Our new washer and dryers in our building here are all Wi-Fi enabled, like Bluetooth Wi-Fi, whatever, because you use the app on your phone to start them. Which, you know what, I will take that over having to put quarters in a machine ever again in my life. That is just quarters. That's the worst. And it took some doing to get our board to agree to upgrade those. Thank goodness they did. I imagine some of these home appliances being Wi-Fi has a lot more to do with collecting data more so than actually providing any practical benefit to the user. Like I could put food in the microwave, could put it in there, walk out of the room, and then tell my microwave to turn on separately from my phone, even though I had to put the food in the microwave, and then I'll eventually have to go and take it out. Oh, subscriptions. Oh God. I hate subscription things. Everything has to be a subscription. It's the worst. Like even sometimes you see something online, like I'm looking for a product, and I'll go check out. Oh, this looks interesting. This looks cool. How much does it cost? Oh, they only sell it through a subscription. Um, what? Hi. No, I don't want that. Oh my god, you had to pay a yearly fee to make it work. Aren't they doing that with some like automotive features on some cars too? I think. Um, and some printers. Is it Hewlett Packard that is trying to force you to be signed up to the Wi-Fi? Like you have to be, and then and it wants you to be signed up to their ink subscription plan. And if you're not, and you use if you use third-party inks that aren't directly from them, it'll just brick your printer, from what I understand. Treadmill bike. Oh, Peloton. And those they were like all the rage a few years ago. It was expensive stuff too. Do they actually brick it if you're not subscribed? I thought that was just for like you wanted to be a part of all their their classes and their. I'm getting that like my hands a little shaky, so doing detailed lines is not going. Okay. Ah, my goodness. Some days it bothers me not at all. Some days it does make it a little difficult to work on little detail things for sure. Another reason to not be bothered by perfection with details is, semi physically incapable of it. If you like watching stupid business ideas burn, YouTube Juicero. Man, it's shocking to me that people would buy a product like that, or unless it was kind of a surprise to them after the fact. I tried juicing once when I went on this like semi healthy kick. I didn't buy a juicer. My mom had one in her basement that had been a gift ages ago, and she was like, "Here, you want a juicer? Take mine." I'm Catherine Dust for a very long time, and I think I used it once, maybe twice. But that was just what a pain to clean. So much effort. Fully understand the shaking. So far, looks good. 1.5 letters in. They didn't buy it. That was a flop. Well, yeah, I mean, you can't. If your business plan relies on consumers to be completely calm, I don't know. That'll only carry you so far. Weird. Helps if the paint is going to flow a little bit more for me. Probably could use a little bit of a fluid medium here. Ah, it's okay. It's okay. Well, whatever. Some things just aren't going to be great, and I can't even open this. Okay, I'll wait till later. I think I'm just starting to get like loopy. I don't know. Maybe it could be low blood sugar, could be a slight contribution to it. Maybe I don't know. I did have a good breakfast today. Breakfast of champions. My bran flakes, not Wheaties, but store brand flakes. I can't even talk anymore. Hmm. Need room for my brush. That's gotta go. I'm trying to study the shaking. Some days, some things just seem to be not meant to happen for you. Yeah, a fluid medium would help quite a bit. Hydro time, yes, good idea. Okay. I think my comma feels too close to the eye. Well, is what it is right now. And still, worst case scenario, if I do all of this and I hate it, I can Photoshop it out and put some text in there digitally. Yeah, that is always, always an option. So there's no stress. Not really. Nothing to worry about. Yeah, getting sloppy too. Come on. Sorry, I think my brush just hit the microphone. Spatial awareness is not always my high um, strength. It's not always my strength. Nor is words apparently today. His words. I just demonstrated that for myself. I'm surprised that Watson hasn't come in here to remind us it's almost lunchtime. He might still be a little off from having that procedure because he couldn't eat beforehand, and um, he didn't have any food that day till after 6 o'clock, and that probably threw him off a bit, which he might still be kind of coming around from getting back on track. How bad I am with like straight lines and edges and that sort of thing. It's a little bit just both. I've always not been great at that stuff, and a little bit of the shaking, but it's also one of the reasons why I you will never see me have painted nails. Actually, ugh, I need to cut them. Suggestion, because something I'm learning and practicing right now, try the vertical lines drawn towards you, not away. Use gravity in your arms. Natural swing to draw down. I find personally it helps me. That's a good idea. Because right now I'm kind of pushing the paint up. So let's give that a try. Paint is quite thick, and this is definitely the situation where I don't want it to be necessarily so thick. Adding water right now, which helps a bit. It's a little bit, but it's not the greatest either. See, I need to be able to come at this with the same confidence that like the kids in my art classes have when they're like, "I'm gonna paint just the background and put words over it, and paint in their words," and they don't. They give no cares, you know. They just do it, and I'm always like, hand lettering's kind of hard, and they're like, "Whatever, I draw letters all the time." Here I find myself doing the bottom to top again. was always told I hold my pencil wrong as a child, and I guess I kind of apparently hold my pencil or my paintbrush sort of like a as if I were left-handed, I guess. As a kid, the teachers would try to correct me, but I always was like, why does it matter? It doesn't matter. I'm not interested in being corrected because I don't think it matters. I also couldn't be bothered to learn how to spell correctly too, so there you go. I inherently really, really want to draw up instead of down. I don't know why. It's kind of interesting once you pointed that out. I hope once there's more in here that it'll kind of come together. I don't know if it will. Sometimes you just got to kind of trust the process and see where it ends up. Sorry, my head's over the camera now too. Oh my goodness. All kinds of failing it today. Every time I start trembling, I realize it's because I'm not doing the stroke right. The practice has helped me a lot with what you mentioned, confidence lines. Just go. Yeah, it's partially that, but I have essential tremor, like as a neurological thing. So this happens to me just anytime. I think there's almost always some slight shake, which isn't always very visible, but uh, it's more pronounced. If it's going to be there, it's going to be more pronounced when I'm trying to do work like this. Yeah, I think I'm making it worse. Oh well, oh well, oh well. I'd like to at least finish this top line of text, more or less. I should probably get some paper to put over that so that it doesn't, I'm not just smearing my drawings. Yeah, I do too. Unfortunately, the meds I'm on have made it worse. Oh no, sorry. It's something I've had to have work on a lot, but yeah, sometimes they just come through and there's nothing you can do. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of it. You just learn to deal with it. And like my neurologist has said that if it's enough of an ordeal, there is medication to try to help with the shaking, but I don't think I'm anywhere near the point that I'm gonna worry about that yet. Awesome that your anxiety meds make the anxiety tremors worse. Geez, yeah. Um, Was it? I once tried Lexapro. I think that was the first thing I was ever prescribed for anxiety, and it made me um, like clench my muscles. Like I would just be walking around and my hands would be in such tight fists that I was digging my nails into my palm and I didn't even realize I was doing it. And just like everything, I'd just be like tense all over all the time. Like I don't think this is what I'm supposed to be experiencing from this medication. I feel like that's not right. So eventually switch to something different. Yeah, yeah, it's always a good time. Same with street. I don't know. If it's too straight, I definitely didn't draw it. It's hard to draw down. Oh my goodness. The whole draw from the shoulder thing for me has transformed my confidence because I can do straighter lines on the go. Yeah, I'm not relying on my hand, but yeah, different strokes, different hooks. Yeah, trying to work like very detailed like this with a brush. I think I either need to be able to have a very different brush that will load more paint and also thinner paint, and then I could potentially do that. But I definitely do a better job of like drawing from the shoulder is best when you have your art upright instead of flat. It's a lot easier for me. Um, and it's something that it's one of those things that I preach to my students, but I don't but definitely need to be reminded of from time to time again. But yeah, I'm trying to like I get too precious with these little strokes, trying to be controlled and detailed. It's just yeah something I'll have to work on. Small details get me hunched over all the time. Yeah, yeah. Like my I've always had bad posture, and I've really tried to work on it because I had lots and lots of like neck and shoulder pain over the years. I've really tried to improve it, but I definitely catch myself doing the hunches. All right, I'm seeing a lot of things that I don't like. They're not terribly happy with, but sorry, I have to go. Have a great rest of your day. Looks fabulous. We'll check out the final later. Oh, thanks. And actually, it's been 2 hours, and I probably need to call it as well. Thanks for stopping by, Marie Beth, and have a great day and weekend. And now that I have more or less finished this top line of text, I may even go back and gesso over it and try again. Possibly. I'm going to see. I'm going to keep going. We'll see. Um, but yeah, I do think, yeah, 2 hours in, I think I'm getting loopy. Uh, Good time to call it a day and have a lunch break or dinner break or whatever. for where you are and get some more water and walk away and rest the eyes a little bit. I see it all as character, not mistakes. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It means a lot. Hopefully, after I walk away from a while, I will from it for a while. I'll see it more like that also. So yeah, have an awesome day and weekend. And my Monday stream. Oh, my Monday stream might be a little bit later than usual. I will put it in the description once I get it scheduled. I'll figure that out for sure. Um, but yeah, hope to see everybody then and have an awesome, awesome weekend, awesome day. Enjoy. Bye, guys.